Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you all. Everybody having a great morning? So. It depends on what you've got to tell us, Dr. Anderson, whether or not we're gonna have a good day. Well, welcome. Good to see everybody here. My name is Dr. Whimsy, and on Sundays we get together and we have a little brunch with my alter ego, the Oracle of Whimsy. And we have fun. We make psychic predictions. We do some tarot card blitzes. We do a community reading. I went ahead and wrote it out for people just to, in case you want to skip ahead. Anyway, so now I'm going to go ahead and say hi to you. Let me know where you're coming from. Michaela Antoinette, what are you doing? Michaela, what are you doing? Michaela, no, please come down. Down. Now. Michaela, no. She's playing with the blinds. Sorry about that. Michaela, why don't you come up here? Okay, so without further ado, welcome. Like I said, today we are raising money for Planned Parenthood. We have been raising funds for Planned Parenthood for the month of September. It's a charity that we strongly support. Last year, we sent a letter to the governor of Texas, letting him know that our money was raised in his honor. A lot of people were upset about that, but that's how we roll. This year, it's not dedicated to anybody because the problem is so widespread, right? So instead, it's just going directly to Planned Parenthood. And so thank you, everybody who has decided to donate to the channel and to the fundraiser today. So I want to turn the camera around a little bit to you and get to know you. This brunch table extends all over the world. Anybody who wants to join us, if you feel like having brunch with us, please join us. We're a nice group of people. We only have one rule here on the Oracle of Whimsy when we get together, and that is that we ask that you be kind to all so that all can be kind to you. And we accept everybody. We accept all shades, all genders, all proclivities, and also all political opinions. If a person's a Republican, etc., we want to welcome everybody here because we are adults and we are capable of adult conversations, right? Sometimes. All right. I think that is all the announcements. Now I just want to turn around and say hi to you and find out a little bit about you. Where are you coming from? What are you eating? Are you in a restaurant? Are you outside? Tell us a little bit about you. Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for being a member and supporting the channel. Hi, Cher Bear. Thank you for supporting the channel. Hi, Margaret Cummings. Good afternoon to you. Hi, Melody Harmon. It's lovely to see you, and a happy Sunday. Kirby Kid is in the house from Pine Top, Arizona. Very nice. Pamela Doss, thank you for being a member and supporting the channel. Hi, Nana Binana. Are you a Nana? Great to see you here. Equus3333, great person, and thank you for contributing. Vicky's in the house. Lynn Raymond is in the house. Namaste to you. Joan Rogers, Lisa Rivas in the house. Mark Rhodes, the wonderful Mark Rhodes from San Francisco is here sending us beautiful pink flowers. One of my favorite colors is pink. I'm convinced Dusty Rose is like, which by the way, those look like a dusty rose. Love that color. Oh, Kathy Murray. Thank you, Kathy. So nice of you. $5 donated to Planned Parenthood. Thank you. Geocosmic Valentine, incredible astrologer and remote viewer trained in HCRV. We welcome her. And Dylan, thank you for being a member. Susan W. in the house, thank you for being a member. All right, we're going to keep saying hi to everybody. And please turn to the left and the right virtually to the person next to you in the table. Introduce yourself and get to know one another. Maybe you make a friend. Maybe they live close to you and you can become friends. So what I am eating for my breakfast is protein and greens by Paradise, 1.5 scoops with 1 heaping tablespoon of peanut butter powder, half a banana, and some low-fat oat milk. And I whipped it together and it tastes like a peanut butter shake. You can also put some ice cubes in it if you do okay with ice, and make it like a peanut butter milkshake. Some people like to put a little cocoa powder in so it tastes like a peanut butter chocolate milkshake. This recipe will give you about 25 grams of low-fat plant-based protein. It's affordable, and the cheapest way to get it is iHerbs. I don't make money off of this, but I am a naturopathic doctor, and I am a broke aristocrat. I'm always looking for the biggest bang for your buck in terms of nutrition. And people want to know, what does Dr. Whimsy eat for breakfast? This is what I eat for breakfast. I also want to announce that I am trying to lose weight because I had a bunch of COVID weight, 40 pounds of weight over the last couple of years. I know, ice cream, being lazy, not taking care of myself. So I have a goal, and my goal is 2 pounds a week. And I want to get down to, say, 140 pounds. So if you would like to learn about how to healthy living, nutrient density, and what I am doing, we talk about that stuff on spa days, which happen Saturdays, 12 noon. If you want to join, if you want to be part of our healthy living, detox, weight loss, optimal health, etc. I think it costs $2.99 a month to join at the Fairies and Angels level, which I think is a great deal if you're looking for affordable tips on healthcare. Ice cream is very addictive, but you know what? Now that I've been on completely plant-based, except for low-fat milk in my coffee, and I'm letting myself have a little sugar in my coffee in the morning, which I'm going to switch over to coconut sugar so that the glycemic index drops. And I stop eating at 6 p.m. So it's really good for you, and as little animal protein as possible. But if you need to take it, you take it. But anyway, so would you guys like to see a powerful trick with the advanced technology here at this channel? Because you all know that I am a master of YouTube. I'm a video wizard. And so with my technical abilities, I'd like to perform a powerful parlor trick. Would you all like to see my parlor trick? Go along with it. Ta-da! There you go. Well, what do you think about that, you video geniuses in YouTube land? All right, so today we're going to be talking about some of the remotes we received in June. Well, we started receiving remotes in, yeah, I can do it all. I'm just kidding. We started receiving remotes in, well, even before April about what is happening right now. And we're going to talk a little bit about the remotes, what they told us about the ground attacks, about. I scanned the grid last night and then, well, I've been scanning the grid. So this is what it looks like when you scan a grid. So basically what it looks like to me as a remote viewer is you see where the energy is blocked. I can't move because the red dots from the bombing. So those corridors have been blocked. So when we intercepted communication between the commander that was at Zaporizhia, his troops that were based there, what they were told was that they have to get out now because the Northeast Corridor is going to be bombed along with the ammunition depots and supply depots. Does everybody remember this conversation that happened? I think it happened last week. There was an intercept. This is your last chance to get out through the Northeast Corridor. So, do you remember when we intercepted communication from intelligence agencies saying that they would start their ground operation in August with an attempt to take back Zaporizhia? Okay, so what has happened is that they didn't leave. They brought in the UN inspectors. Some of the UN inspectors stayed. They had full access with the Russians. But can they get out now? No, they can't get out. They were told surrender or flee through the Northeast Corridor. What's happening to the Northeast Corridor? It's been blocked off. So what did we say was going to happen with Sweden and England? They told us it was safe to talk about this stuff. Probably, I don't have no idea why. I'm just a remote viewer, folks. I'm certainly not a military strategist. So Britain and Sweden's military were here. Oh, what happened? Are you dead? Bummer. I'll use this color. So they're training. They're training because, as I had mentioned in the remote, this is what the military showed me. They blocked off the corridor to the northeast. They blew up the bridge over here. Remember last week when we were telling people, we told the guys in Zaporizhia as we stood as the brigadier general, you got to get the hell out because we're coming in. We told them before the 29th. And now they're trapped. So it feels to me like it's about 200 people trapped in this area. So they just have to surrender because there really is no exit at this point. You see that? They can't get out. So there's more we could say. People say, well, Britain and Sweden haven't come in yet from the north. No, they haven't. Let's hope they don't have to. I don't read the future. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm a professional. I am a professionally trained HCRV remote viewer. I am paid to do this. And this is the map. And this is how I saw it. So that's kind of the situation now. So unfortunately, some of these people that were here, so the Russian military that was here went south to try and save, but they don't have much. They can't get out either. They can't get out either because this whole area down south is being bombed and there's no supply chain. So basically they're trapped. Now, if they intend to bring planes in or in any way threaten Zaporizhia while this takeover is taking place, there's a couple things that we were told. Number one, the special operation that's going in has special equipment that they're protecting themselves from radiation exposure. And number two, we were told, based on intelligence, that the military in Zaporizhia, that's Russian, what's left, doesn't have the same protective equipment. So what did they say? Very specifically last week, you either surrender to us because you're not going to get out of the Northeast Corridor because we're going in. Well, that's crazy. We'll blow it. If you blow it up, we checked the wind. We held until we got the wind. The wind is going to take it where? Where's the wind going to take it? Very good. Let's review it. What do you all think of the remote? What do you think about where we're at right now? Scary times. Do you think that Russia can still win? Okay, now this, by the way, is alluded to in The Art of War, the technique I use. The Art of War, they talk about this technique of putting yourself in the shoes of the enemy. All right, now my last question for you. Is HCRV cool as hell or what? It's a very cool technique. I don't know why this dried out. I'm going to have to see if I can revive it with some acetone. It's a bummer. I just bought this. Yes, HCRV. And here's the great thing about it. Once you learn the technique, you'll never forget the technique. And the other great thing about it is that we can all do it. Now, yes, some people are meant to be professional remote viewers. And if you didn't have their childhood, if you really want to be a great remote viewer, you got to be like 11 in Stranger Things. You gotta pay the piper, man. It's just, so not everybody wants to be a remote viewer because it's a hard, early childhood training is not fun. Oh, but it's, Melissa, it's a Phelp. Really? That would work with a Phelp? Okay, so this is what the message I got. So we're going to go ahead and read it as Ukrainian intelligence gave it to me last night. The Northeast Corridor. This is, I imagine this is the Ukrainian military talking. The Northeast Corridor is now closed, and your supply depots have been bombed. The Russian military is now trapped. And this is exactly what we had planned in our ground offensive. We had suggested that you get out through the Northeast Corridor, and we told you that we are coming. Prior to the attack, we put out a series of false news stories to let the Russians think that our military had been weakened and that we were not going to do the ground offensive. This left the Russians unprepared. They were left to believe that the Russians could not that the Ukrainians could not repel the Russian forces. It was a false story. Anybody need to talk about that? Thank you for the likes. Well, I think HCRV, which is the closest to the bond technique, which is the closest to the art of war, which is the closest, which it is the technique the Dalai Lama used when he got out of Tibet. The reason why it's effective is because when I go into the remote view and scan the grid, I know where the blocks are. I know where the energetic blocks are, and I know where the corridors are because I can feel it when I'm in a remote state. Sorry, this is upside down, but um, and I have a great sense of direction. No. uh, so um, so that's how the remote viewer is able to make the grid. You just put yourself in the shoes and you physically try to go forward. And if you feel a block of energy, it's probably because there's bombing or something going on there. And you just scan the grid and see if you can energetically move or not in the altered or trance state. It's an advanced technique. We'll try and teach it more when we get to the end of the quarter. We just started class September 6th, and the next class is going to be Tuesday, open to members the healer's empath level. It starts at 5 p.m. on Tuesday. All right. So the next thing, anybody have any questions about that? Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Christine, for the donation to Planned Parenthood. Oh, hi, Terry. For those of you who don't know, Terry is the Queen de la Queen. She is a licensed, certified HCRV practitioner, and she is available to teach in your community. Please reach out to her if you want to do any seminars or 2-day weekend courses, 3-day weekend courses for certification. Terry is very, very well trained. I think when she graduated, she was hitting the mark at like 85, 90%. So she's good. Okay. So the next thing we're talking about is Bill Barr. How are you all feeling about Bill Barr right now? Anybody got any feelings about Bill Barr right now? Anybody seeing any strange changes in Bill Barr? The thing about Bill Barr is that when we went into a remote on Bill Barr, how we felt was that a lot of the misinformation that had been weaponized by the Republican Party was because of Bill Barr. Bill Barr was so embroiled in his religious beliefs that he had no doubt that his religious beliefs were real, and it prevented him from being objective enough to see objective reality about the situation he found himself in. And he only saw an opportunity for him to do what was right in his mind as a Catholic religious fanatic. It literally colored his capacity to see reality. And so now he finds himself in a situation where he's under a criminal investigation. The FBI, the feds, and the Justice Department are determining whether or not this meets the level of a crime that can be prosecuted because of obstruction of justice, weaponizing the Justice Department, using federal funds to help terrorize people who, 45 might have had a problem with. So we have a situation now where, particularly if you saw his deposition with his attorneys, we're looking at someone who probably thinks that he's facing some type of criminal prosecution. Anybody else feel that way? Or does anybody disagree and think that he's just strolling? I'm cool. Nothing's going to happen to me. I think that this feels a lot like the deal that Michael Cohen made. You better start making some phone calls. You'd better start calling people in the GOP. You'd better start getting people to cooperate. And you'd better start explaining yourself, because you're facing an indictment. And that's what happened with Michael Cohen. He gave 40 hours. He started making some phone calls. He cooperated. He got on the airways and started telling people anything and everything about what had happened. And he still got like 2, 3 years, but he was looking at 40 if you look at his financial crimes. So I don't think it's I don't think it's such a stretch for us to think that now Bill Barr has a similar deal. Go, it it upsets me, quite frankly, because I just feel that, particularly when they were so this the way that they have handled the case of Trump and the missing documents, I just think that regular people would not have been treated like this. So it just feels to me, I'm gonna turn my air conditioner on. It just feels to me like something is going on where he's trying to I think he's trying to avoid having the book thrown at him. Why else do it? Think about it. What's his benefit? How is it a benefit of him to have an opinion at all? What's the benefit of going on Fox News and saying this guy's basically a criminal? Somebody's trying to clean up the damage they've caused, and that looks like hey, judge, go easy on me. That's what it's starting to look like. All right, so the next remote view, I want to quickly just say, I had it written down, I didn't have it over here. I just wanted to give a quick remote view on China's economy, and specifically China's real estate bubble. So as many of you know, China is facing a horrible economic situation. How it feels to me when I put myself in the shoes of the situation is that in order to operate the business that is the CCP Incorporated, right? China Incorporated, in order to run this business, you are relying on the bare minimum of a certain amount of money coming into the state every month. And so what's happened is that money isn't coming in, but the projects all around the world have to keep going. So China bought real estate in Australia. They bought real estate in the United States. I think the company that owns this building is owned by China. No problem. They've really made a great life for us here. Now, the apartment next door, the building next door, just went up for sale, and it's rent controlled in downtown Portland. So what did they do to all the seniors and people living in the rent controlled building next door owned by China? They turned it into a condos. They just sold it. So what do you do if you got to dump this property? Hey, Whimsy, you like your studio? Yeah, it's got rent control. You want to buy it? How much? We'll give it to you for 60K. We're just trying to dump the thing. Will you take it? 60K, sure. So what you're going to start seeing is this economic collapse is going to cause a major drop in the real estate market because they've got to start dumping real estate in order to get cash. So yeah, they bought in New York. They bought here in Portland downtown when they thought we were going to be the new Seattle, whatever. And now they're being sold off as condos at bargain prices. That's the latest that's starting to happen. So should I buy? If they offered me, if I got the same deal as the condo next door, which was like a third the price or whatever, yeah, I would. I wouldn't mind owning a condo in the United States, like a cheap and expensive studio downtown, just so that I have a place here in the States, because I like to travel. That would be the only way that I would buy something. But be prepared for this to happen in the next 3, 4 months, because China has got to do something, because they're not even able to complete the projects that are currently in China with the condos that people bought. So they just got to start cashing in. They need cash. They need cash now. What happened to their tourism market that they were depending on after COVID? Billions and billions in tourism. No tourism, right? Because COVID, they closed the door. So they lost that. So what are they holding on to? They're holding on to old trade contracts, right? So obviously, if then we go and start saying, well, we're thinking of buying some stuff from Taiwan because their factories are producing better quality, because the quality in China ain't that great. Come on, let's be honest, folks. So now what's happened to China? Now they've lost their trade to their competitors. They can't build their houses because they've run out of money. So what's the logical thing to do? You dump your real estate. And that's what they're going to do. Anyone want to talk about that? People still think China's going to take over the world? No, it's too expensive. To take over the world is too expensive. To be the CCP Inc. is too expensive. There simply isn't enough money on the planet to sustain something like that. And so it inevitably implodes, whether or not it's Greece or Rome or Spain when they collapsed, or Britain when they collapsed. It's simply too expensive. And that's also why I think we're seeing the pullback of the United States, is because ultimately it bankrupts you to try and maintain something like that. And I think that's part. They grew too quickly. They thought the money was going to keep coming in, and that it was let the good times roll. They tried to do too much too soon, and they went belly up, and now they're bankrupted. They've been technically, I think they technically fell into bankruptcy about 4 months ago. So the other thing is that they're going to start arresting people like the Huawei, the people that own Huawei. They will probably try some people and execute some people. I mean, they will probably deal harshly with them because of this. But it definitely signals the pullback of the real estate market. Sure, because they own part of the housing market, Catherine, and they own some of the real estate companies. Yeah. Yeah. So now that also helps us have a perspective about why the tension with Taiwan, and now they're starting to lose. So what are they going to do? They're going to turn to Russia and say, hey, do you want to buy any of our stuff? North Korea, we send a lot of stuff to North Korea, right? So that's what's going on with that. Finally, Steve Bannon. Um, I feel like we've seen the end. I can't imagine him coming back from this. It's almost like once he gets into the system, once he gets arrested, once he goes to jail, it's like he never gets out. He just becomes part of the system. So, what do y'all think about Bannon? I also feel like Bannon may have been one of the people who was selling secrets for money. He was the guy on the mega yachts. Now, for a time, it saved him. Remember what we had always said about Bannon? He looked like he was one of those sleazy informants that tells the cops just enough to stay out of jail. But eventually, his time would run out, just like it did with Epstein. Epstein was an informant, but his time ran out. And Trump was an informant for the FBI. That was public information. So this was a situation with Bannon where his time ran out. And I just don't see much of a future for him. All right. So does anybody have any questions for me about previous remote views or anything they need to clarify before we do the community prayer and community reading? Anybody like about the royal family, about the environment, about earthquake, anything, clarifications about any of the remote views I did the last couple of weeks where you say, could you clarify what you meant? If not, then I'm just going to go straight into the community. So the royal family, the thing that I would say about the royal family is that, as individuals, I really liked all of them when I connect with them. I really like all of them. Last night, I connected a lot with Prince Philip and the memories the children had at Balmoral. It was kind of cool. I fell into a lucid dream where I was Elizabeth with my father, and he was dressed like he was off on a safari and he had a gun, and he said that we were going to go and hunt elephants. And what he had done, this is my memory as Elizabeth, was he got a tent, like a Bedouin tent, like a safari tent that he had gotten it from North Africa, from like a sheik or something. And he put this massive North African tent up at Balmoral. And we slept in opulence, like Bedouin royalty inside this tent. And he pretended like he was going to go on this hunt in Africa. And we all played and pretended, and we barbecued and lived like we pretended like we were Bedouins out in the. It was a lot of fun. So what I took from that memory that Elizabeth gave me was that this was a family that enjoyed Balmoral because it gave them an opportunity to just be people and barbecue and this amazing tent that this little girl, oh my God, my father's, we're off to get, and just doing this for her, maybe for one of her birthdays or something, and being able to ride an elephant or something like that. Those kinds of connections. Oh, when she was touring Africa, you folks know so much more. So that was really, really, really cool to be shown that. The glimpse that Prince Charles gave me, when he saw Archie for the first time, sharing with me that it was love at first sight, that his heart, oh my God, my heart, like he's just so in love with Archie. That was a gift. That was special. And I think that they're going to have to work it out and also if you look at them walking together, we don't have to like each other, but when I put myself in the remote as the queen, people had said, oh, it seems so contrived. I always tell people, do HCRV and check for yourself. Don't trust my experience. When I put myself in the shoes of the death scene at the moment she had passed, I wanted to experience it. So I placed myself there. And when I placed myself there, I was the assistant. And when I placed myself there, the silence was maddening. I thought I was going to go insane because nobody did anything. So is that contrived? I felt like someone must do something. And I felt like whether it was symbolic or it happened literally that way, I think what I sensed was that for King Charles, he had to process a lot at once. He had to process, my God, my mother is dead. My mother has just died, which is a lot to process. The horror of that. And then the second thing he had to process is, oh my God, I'm king. So while he was processing that, nothing was happening. Nothing was happening. We were all frozen. That's how it looked to me. And so that's why I felt like I should do something with my hands, or because just to break the madness of the silence. And that broke King Charles concentration, and he came out of it. But I think whether it happens literally or symbolically, I think that the emotion of, and people say, well, he didn't call her grandmama, he called her granny. So therefore, it's not about getting the exact word right or the exact scene right. It's about the mysticism of being one with somebody and their energy and feeling the moment and how would I react in this given situation. And as Miss Kelly, everyone's standing there and seeing the last, I thought I would go mad from the silence. So that was why it appeared that way to me. I hope that gave some clarity on that. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the Impasse Prayer. Thank you for coming. All right, I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together, collectively, as a community, we say, Amen. I don't know. I think if I had a father that rented a Bedouin tent for me and I got to sleep in those beautiful Turkish blankets, and my daddy woke me up, we're going to go hunt for a wild boar. So I mean, I love him. I would love my daddy. God, how could you not love him for that? And that's probably why Queen Elizabeth fell in love with her husband. He had that aspect, you know. He was this amazing person who kept these traditions and of yeah. I wonder if that comes from the Victorian era. You know, this fascination when Victoria ruled India and parts of Turkey prior to World War I, that they just had this incredible passion for the Orient. And then her father dies, and then her husband carries on this crazy tradition of all of that cool stuff. Explains why she fell in love with her husband. Oh, they stayed in luxury tents. That's so funny because they did that in Balmoral with their grandfather, and Elizabeth did it with her father. Yeah, it's very cool, based on the memories they showed. Very cool. When I went into Prince Philip's energy, he was dressed like a hunter in the 1920s from The Mummy, and he was wearing the gun, and he was jumping his feet up and down, and he was saying, "Hey, Bungalow Bill." He was singing the Beatles song, and he was like dancing, and that was Prince Philip. And I was like, whoa, what have I walked into? Oh, the spirit just flew by. And then Elizabeth was barbecuing. The Queen was barbecuing, and yeah, they know how to have fun. The Prime Minister said that going to Balmoral is a freaky reality because when Boris Johnson went to visit the Queen in Balmoral, I guess they had a barbecue and the Queen cooked it and then she served it and then he ate it and she said, "All done?" And she picked up the plates and started washing the dishes. And he said, "I've come to a freaky world." But yeah, that's how it appeared. Okay, let's do you now. Where you are at right now. Ooh, the moment of truth has arrived. Also, this is a time energetically where we're coming into a lot of justice, aren't we? Like the things were so imbalanced. We entered into a crazy time. It's almost like Putin created this time. It's all coming from a lot of it's coming from Putin, but now we have things writing. We're entering into the time of justice. Remember, we talked about in Judaism the the cycle of life or the calendar is seen as circular, right? So we're now entering into the time of Rosh Hashanah, repentance, an account and a reckoning for our actions throughout the year. So the karma card is justice, which in Hebrew is din or the law. And so now is the time where the consequences of your actions are being measured for the year. So the base of the matter is Six of Cups, which is old loves returning. It's interesting. The reason why I think the royals are so fascinating has to do with the racism issue, but also how the whole planet is dealing with these issues. But Six of Cups is to return back to love. Are you willing to move on? Are you willing to forgive? Are you willing to say, okay, this person has changed? How much are you willing to forgive in order to enjoy your future? And those are the decisions that everybody in the planet seems to be making right now. So where you're at right now, the sun coming out, I just feel like people are getting very clear about who they are, what they believe. You know yourself now. You know who you love. You know who you hate. You know your mistakes. You know where you screwed up. You know where you went right. You know where you went wrong. You've also made clear decisions about who gets to be in your life, and that includes family members. You can see here the crossing card is the Ten of Pentacles and the sun. So that would indicate good inheritance for some of you, and that if you are worried about inheritance issues, they're going to be resolved. What is above? Building. Some of you are going to be adding to your homes, adding real estate, or possibly upgrading on existing real estate. Where you're sitting right now, some of you are contemplating selling old homes. You've got the card, Eight of Cups, sitting, and then real estate. So fix it up, sell it, let go, minimize. Tough decisions lay ahead for your own health. There is a warning here that you and I and everybody else, we have a limited amount of time on the planet. So we all have to decide, how do you want to spend your years, particularly your golden years, because you've got Archangel Raphael coming into the sixth house over the issue of what you're building. So if you're building something now, are you going to be around 10 years from now to enjoy it, 20 years from now? Always think in terms of the price you pay in terms of your health, energy, and the fact that we all have limited amounts of time. I feel some of you are going to be starting new businesses and new entrepreneurship and taking new risk financially with the King of Wands coming into the seventh house. And the only thing holding you back right now is discipline with health. You should join a spa day, man. $2.99 a month. Health concerns. Yeah, we all have those. Hopes and fears that you will be strong enough and that justice will prevail in your life. And then the final outcome for you, don't set yourself up. Don't set yourself up for failure. Don't give yourself more than you can chew. Stop being so hard on yourself. Stop having such irrational expectations. And don't sign any contracts or take on anything that you may regret and not be able to get out of in the future. That's red tape. Be careful about timeshares. The market's crashing. The houses are crashing. They're going to start dumping real estate. You can either hold on now until it stabilizes or sell. Sorry, folks, I'm just the remote viewer. China bought up real estate all over the world. They practically own Zillow. They have no choice. They need cash. Real estate market's a mess. I know it's because the issue, fourth house. So yeah, if you can get a good price now, if you're thinking about buying, wait 3-4 months when the Chinese start dumping everything. What do y'all think about that? Well, they say be a gypsy. You know, the wealthiest people in the world are 70% cash right now and holding. Everybody's become a gypsy. But will everybody start selling off real estate? Sure, because people bought too high and they didn't anticipate rising inflation, and so people couldn't make the rent, the mortgage. And then you think about all the condos and all the real estate that's, you know, whole real estate companies that are owned by China that buy up whole neighborhoods. They have to just sell, sell, sell. So that's what the next few months, and that is why the market crashes. It also depends on where you live. Some places are never going to truly crash. I mean, if you're living on the Upper East Side, how much is it? Could still crash, but how much? Okay. Gunner has a question. So Gunner wants to know, we're going to go ahead and blitz away. We got the order. And so Gunner wants to know, will the seas up around Norway turn into the NATO Sea and block ships into Kaliningrad and Russia and control who can come in? That's a really good question. Let's go ahead and, I mean, I would think yes, because the Northeast quarter has closed, the energy is being blocked, and because of the sky operation that they're planning, which they told us about. So I would think probably yes, but let's take a look. Russia and Norway. It was nice of them to give us military coordinates. They probably think, well, no one's going to believe her anyway. She's crazy. I was like, okay. I mean, I had no prohibition. There were no prohibitions of telling it. I don't think it had any effect on the military operation talking about it for whatever reason. The Russians are fleeing and they're taking everything they can. There's a lot of theft that took place. Like I said, they stole icons from the churches to give back as a gift to the Russian church. Yeah, that's really going to get them to want to join with you. So they flee and they flee with objects. So it's showing the Russians as running away. But hey, I might as well take your car. I might as well take your jewelry, boxes of jewelry, anything and everything that they could grab, icons, religious stuff. It just 900-year-old Bibles with gold inlay that are priceless. Priceless relics of the church were stolen. They broke. You know, these are Bibles with images that are 1,000 years old. Smashing it, taking it, lugging it off. And then you have the Four of Pentacles, which again is to withdraw and to hold hopes and fears, losing the battle and then hanging it up. The Russians have lost. What's interesting is the propaganda, you know, as they're fleeing with their, you know, theft, while Russia is doing this, Putin is saying, yeah, this was all part of the plan. I mean, they're losing the Donbass. They just took back parts of Kherson and Kharkiv. So the power of propaganda, right? The clarification. It always ends the same way, that if Russia wants peace with Europe, they're going to have to, I mean, this in no way helped Russia. They're going to have to pay restitution. That's because they stole. They're criminals. Restitution, justice will prevail. over the theft. And then you can see restitution here. They don't want to pay restitution. They'll be forced by the international community. Their money has to go to rebuild. Ace of Pentacles is coming in. Oh, they're going to be building memorial parks also with Russian money. Hopes and fears, the health of the nation, the health of the people. And then the final outcome is temperance, hanging it up. I would say that it's close to over. They are bringing in the North Koreans, but the only thing that's going to do is destroy North Korea further. And they are going in with an advanced team into Zaporizhia. And if they blow up Zaporizhia, the main victims are going to be Russians. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Crazy times we live in. All right, this question is coming from Tony Stokes. How will King Charles rule as king? We'll go ahead and do a 4-card blitz on it. He's deeply troubled by the state of the world, and he's going to talk about that. He's deeply troubled by the state of the planet. In the past, he said that his hands were tied about how much he could discuss these things, but he's very excited to announce some of the new green businesses that are going to be opening up in Britain and are going to be funded by the British government. So he'll be able to go and cut the ribbon. He said that his hands were tied prior to this regarding issues of green business. He has gone into this with total faith, the fool, because of the other in relationship to him had passed in the grave, the mother. His biggest issue right now, he said, I have a broken heart. I can't deal with it right now. I can't deal with my broken heart. Can't deal with it right now. Final outcome for him, the sun shines and the 4 of Wands. It's a great day for the British community. It shows that the family is reconciled and that relations in the family are normalized by April of 2023. You can see the sun card coming in and the time being April. If you're reading Wands, literally the 4th month would be April. So it's good cards. All right, we have a question about the economy, which I think is pretty important. Tony Stokes is talking about, she says the prices went crazy here over the last 2 years and are starting to drop 10+%. Now they are liabilities for houses that cost less than they are paid. We'll go ahead and we'll look at the housing market first, Tony, and then we'll go ahead and look at inflation. So we'll look at the housing market. Are you guys surprised about what happened to China? Are you surprised that it happened so fast? Are you surprised that you're just now hearing about it? Are you surprised? I mean, is any part of this surprising you? Discuss amongst yourselves. Hi, the Red Hat Cat. Thank you for being a member of this channel. Well, Super Queen V, they own a lot of San Francisco real estate and have for many, many years. So let's see what happens there. Okay, so in terms of the housing market, people held on and held on and held on and held on to try and increase the prices. So they were basically holding on to a mountain of real estate in order to up the sale of homes. So you had these major real estate corporations which had business in China or were maybe Huawei or other Chinese corporations were related. They held the money. They held the money and they kept things high, and that kept the prices high. So that was the first thing that happened. But then COVID hit and they needed cash. They lost their tourism, et cetera, et cetera. So you had a market crash. And then you have people walking away from their houses. And so now you have an issue of theft. So what's going to happen? There's going to be blood on the street, right? So they have to dump, 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 dump. Seven of Swords is not good. That's a theft card. That could indicate that in another, 4 months to a year, you're going to feel like you got ripped off, that you're paying twice what your house is worth or more. That would indicate a possible huge dip in the housing market. This is just something people didn't think about. Yeah. They held too long and they kept prices too high, and now they can't sell it at the prices they wanted. See how people can, yeah, they have to sell it. It's, yeah, 4 months. I think about 4 months we'll see a drop. We'll probably see a collapse. Yeah, 3-4 months. They're saying 3 months if you want specifics. 3 wands, theft, crash. Oh my God, are some of you trying to sell houses? Yeah. Yeah. So now we'll go ahead and we'll look at inflation. The gas is a problem because we're still having problems with gas being available. What's going on in Europe right now? But let's take a look here. Okay, we're going to take a quick look at inflation. It's fun. And if you haven't liked or subscribed, it would be great if you could. Thank you. And if you want to donate to Planned Parenthood, can't think of a better organization right now in America to give to. All right, inflation. Yes, there's an attempt at theft, so the market might crash. And I'm not a big fan of prepping. I think that you should have an earthquake readiness kit. You should have some water available. You should have some way of cooking. Like I have one of those cook things in case the gas goes out. Little things like that if you want to get yourself a generator. But hoarding massive amounts of food, I don't think that that's a good idea for anybody. When my mother passed away, it's like we literally had to order a dumpster to throw all the canned soup away. It doesn't usually work out. Thank you, Anonymous, for the donations to Planned Parenthood. Those are appreciated. So basically, with inflation, they say that things will probably get a little bit better in the next 6 months. I know that a lot of people are looking at solutions for growing vegetables in the high heat, but you can see here there was a block in the market. I think a lot of that has to do with gas prices in Europe, et cetera. But you can see that nice 6 of Wands moving through, and that's a forward movement. It's a 6 of Wands, so we read it as a 6-month period. And it also would indicate quick victory. So we're moving into a positive direction with the economy and with the issue of inflation. The other in relationship to us is usually Europe and the rest of the world. And we see them being able to clean things up. I saw a question, somebody has said, what's the story with Russia and China? Well, Russia and China are allies. And again, if we're starting to buy our stuff from Taiwan and not from China, that's another economic crisis for Russia. So they're going to try and do business with somebody else, whether it's buying their oil or getting them to purchase products made in China. It's ultimately the same thing. They desperately need cash. But you can see in the next couple of months, Europe is starting to stabilize. We have the World, 3 of Wands over the water, ship coming in. It's a positive card, the other in relationship to us. So I do feel in the coming months, we are going to see a stabilization. But the amount of damage that Russia has caused in Ukraine and the rest of the world, The amount of damage that COVID caused China and the rest of the world economically, it's a lot to get through, but it also hails in a new economy, the new green economy, because as we've mentioned, and again, I'm just a remote viewer. I just follow energy. There is no other economy by 2023 than the green economy. So if you've invested in anything that is not environmentally friendly, it's probably going to go belly up in the next 4 months. And we have the president doing a good job in terms of stabilizing the economy during this transition as we phase out gas guzzlers and move towards this new green economy. You can see here, this is Biden's card. It's also the great negotiator over the issue of Four of Pentacles, which is about frugality, but it's not about poverty. It's about pulling back economically over the issue of what has happened, which is theft. We gave contracts to our friends, right? That's what our Congress people did. Our infrastructure collapsed because the money was stolen. So again, we have a theft card here and an indication that people are going to jail. I mean, we also have, because the justice cards keep coming up, and then Two of Cups is coming in, which would indicate that the issue is resolved. So basically, in a nutshell, give it another couple of months, but we're moving in the right direction. And Putin's finished; his days are over. But he did a lot of damage, and that's the problem with someone who has a personality disorder. If you don't deal with it, it only gets worse. That's what happened with Donald Trump. Nobody dealt with it, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And people kept indulging him till the point where he was the emperor who had no clothes, and he truly believed that Mar-a-Lago was the southern. He believed it was the White House, and that he was he even said last week that they were at Mar-a-Lago, the White House. This guy has been turned into this kind of crazy because people indulged him. It's an example of the actual meaning of spoil the rod, spare the rod, spoil the child. Rods were staffs of authority. They weren't used to hit people. But it's about having strong boundaries. Like the Queen of Wands has a staff. She doesn't go around smacking people with it, though I'm sure if you're the Queen of Wands, you've thought about it. It's really more about placing a stand, territory, boundaries. And that's how we are good parents, right? So unfortunately, in the case of Putin and also in the case of Trump, they're two people who haven't been told no a lot. And Trump's somebody who, if he says no, he can get it to a yes. So he just thought that eventually that was going to keep happening, and that everybody was going to eventually agree and accept the fact that Mar-a-Lago was the White House. And that's why he has to have all this private intelligence there. And the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers are his military, and he has a right to sell our information if he sees fit, because he's the president and he gets to decide what our security is. So in his mind, because he is insane, this all makes complete sense. Absolute crazy. All right. So the last question we had that I got sent was, people were concerned about some of the hurricanes. I know Hurricane K came in. I don't feel good about Southern California and this wacky weather. I have, as a remote viewer, I've scanned the grid of the Topanga Canyon area, specifically the northeast ridge of Topanga Canyon, and I hope, if anybody is with the Army Corps of Engineer, I did locate a crack, a quite significant crack on the northeast side of the Topanga Canyon, which is going to slide into the ravine if there's a combination of mud, wet, shakes. That whole side ridge is going to come down, and that whole area could turn into a river that floods the basin. I'm concerned about flooding in Burbank, and I'm particularly concerned about the Valley Community College area, etc., because that northeast area is so unstable. Let's go ahead now and look at the general weather. I do feel like Debbie Downer sometimes. But it's actually good news today because the economy is recovering in the next 4 to 6 months, and because Putin is finished, and because the Russians will pay restitution. Oh, how interesting. So according to what I'm being told, the scientific community, which is typified by the King of Swords, who is often an Aquarius male, or logic or science and reason, the Ice King, it's all about logic. So when I go into this remote, it basically is saying that there is a lot of proactivity in several states about what they have to do to protect against global warming and flooding, etc. They've actually been quite active. However, some areas still are vulnerable. I'm seeing potential flooding this year in Louisiana again, parts of Texas, the bayou, those areas that are low sea level parts. But Louisiana is very vulnerable this year, as is parts of Texas, Alabama. Parts of the Panhandle are vulnerable, parts of Florida. It's not good. I'm getting very nervous about Louisiana, but the good news is you have that science energy there, which is probably because they're working on the levees. They know, in plain words, there's an awareness here of the problem. But however, the person who's going to be experiencing this nightmare, we're not talking about the scientists, we're talking about the people that are actually living at ground zero. You're talking about more serious hurricanes this year. So I like the fact that it entered with the King of Swords, because that would indicate scientific community, sound judgment, and then Ace of Swords. So we're looking at, within the 1 year, the Green Deal that Biden made with transportation is also aggressively going to be moved towards creating levees and other infrastructure to protect against flooding. But I have to be honest, I see some pretty bad weather coming into to Louisiana and Texas. All right, my beloveds, did you have fun? Yeah, you had fun. We got some good news today. We got some good news. If you are trying to buy real estate, in 4 months, you'll have some great deals. If you do want to invest in real estate, and the economy should be stabilizing in the next 4 to 6 months. And the other positive news is that we save ourselves. We're not going to go away. We're not going to be destroyed because of global warming. We're going to save ourselves. It's the right thing. We're going to save ourselves. The indictments, yes, more indictments, and 2 more January 6th. They're going to start to the best that they can, talk about how we were compromised through our military. San Francisco real estate. I can do 4 cards on San Francisco real estate. It was an overall general on real estate, showed that the market would be really good in about 4 months because China had to dump. And that, of course, is going to cause other companies to dump. What happens when somebody dumps and offers to sell me this place for $60K because they need cash now? Everybody else gets spooked, right? So you have sun coming out over real estate. San Francisco, yeah, it's definitely China upped the market. But you can see here the other in relation. They got to sell. 6 of Cups. You know, some people also have precedent, like in Chicago when they're starting to sell off areas, which they own a lot of, Chinese own a lot of property in Chicago. Same thing. If they convert inner city areas to condos and say, look, take it for 60K or take it for 20K. They get cash now, and the other person gets to be a first-time homeowner. That happened to my friend. The Chinese were trying to sell off a hotel. The hotel went belly up, and they converted it to condos. And so they called my friend and said, "Do you want one of these condos?" Because the Chinese wanted to get rid of it. So she had she was staying at rent control place in Seattle. Same thing. I guess it must have been owned by the Chinese. They needed cash. They called her and said, "Do you want to buy your condo?" She said, "No, they're selling the one in Hawaii." And they said, "Really?" Then they called her a week later and said, we'll give you your condo, 2 bedrooms, for 60K." And she took it because she didn't care, and she really meant it. She was like, "I'll just take the place in Hawaii. It's only 120 something K," because they were dumping real estate. That happened in like the 1990s or something. They were needing cash, and it's happening again. And it just causes a huge yo-yo in the market, particularly like condos, places like that tend to drop. All right, love and light to you all. If you're trying to get in for a reading, you can go to tarotwithwhimsy.com. If you need to see me as a physician, I do telemedicine coaching via the internet. You can go to drwhimsy.com. Yeah, there was a housing crash in the 80s. There were a couple of times when these major real estate companies, a lot of them were owned overseas, they just dumped everything or converted. And that was how she was. It was a beautiful condo. It was overseeing Lake Washington, two bedroom, 60K. So and there's been some talk, it could happen if they offered me something, I'd probably buy, just because it would make my life a lot easier, and it would be cost effective. All right. See you all later. Bye, everyone. Have a great rest of the weekend. Okay.